Hello and welcome to the program. We're going to talk today about flight crew essentials. Mike?
Yeah, well, flight crew essentials, what the heck does that mean? Well, who should you have on your flight crew and how do you qualify them and how do you train them? And do they need training? Of course, we all know you need the pilot in command. That's
Obviously, right? So that's the
you,
person that holds the Part 107 certification, right? Which doesn't need to be the person manipulating the controls, but you know the drill.
And then we always recommend a spotter. If you can have a spotter, visual observer,
Visual observer.
I guess is the official term. Visual observer and, and just if possible, always have one of those. That's kind of like our policy if we can
Absolutely.
have it. Because as you know, if you've ever flown a drone, and you probably have, after a while they get hard to see. If you're doing cinematography, you can't always focus on your shot and your drone at the same time. I've tried to do that. I don't know if you have, but you're looking up and you're looking down.
It's hard.
One thing gets lost, either the drone or the shot. So
it does. A visual observer is important, and of course, their job is exclusively to watch the drone and advise of any potential dangers. So, in my opinion, they should be trained. It's not enough that you have them. So, the pilot in command or the person manipulating the controls, which more often than not are the same person, need constant reassurance. So it's not enough to say clear and then just be quiet forever. No, it's a good idea to just say clear. You're still clear. Airspace clear, no traffic. You are clear of everything. Keep on giving the pilot reassurances that they're clear so that they don't have to worry that the drone is going to hit something.
Yeah, because I know when I'm flying, a long silence from the visual observer could mean they've lost it, they're looking for it, or it could mean it's clear. I want to know that I'm always clear. I want to know that, am I going to hit the tree?
Right.
Even though I'm a mile away from it. I need that reassurance.
I mean, if you are the visual observer, or tell your visual observer, if you are the pilot, make sure that they keep on reinforcing. It's not good if your pilot has to say, am I clear? Am I clear? That's not good. Don't let them get to that. So a constant reassurance is a good thing.
We have one of my favorite photos actually is of Luisa and I and our visual observer. We're up on the top of a helipad. I think it's in a hospital. And Luisa and I are watching the shot. Our visual observer is looking out at the drone.
You better believe
intently looking out at the drone. It looks, if you're looking at the shot and you're not a pilot, you're probably thinking, what is the guy looking at?
Exactly.
But it's a perfect visual observer photo.
Best guy ever.
Yeah, he's a wonderful guy.
Yes, indeed.
In terms of visual observers. Well,
great guy. Hello.
All around.
Hello.
He's also a pilot, so
of course,
if at all possible, we like to use pilots as visual observers only because they understand what's going on, and it's good to work with somebody you've worked with before. I would not, or I very much hesitate to work with somebody I haven't worked with before as a visual observer.
Absolutely.
Only because you got to make sure the communication's down, and if it is somebody you haven't worked with before. First of all, if you can get any training, go out in the field with them on, at a ball field or something, fly around and just practice. That would be good. Otherwise, make sure your visual observer knows exactly what you're expecting.
Oh, absolutely.
Tell them what Luisa just said. You want to know exactly what's going on all the time, that you're clear of traffic, that you're clear of obstructions, and you are good to go all the way around.
Right, and it works out great, but there are a couple of things to keep in mind. For example, the visual observer doesn't have to be right next to the pilot, The visual observer could be quite a ways away, in which case, what are they going to do? Yell, clear! What if you're a block away, right? So I absolutely recommend hands-free. Remember, the pilot has both hands occupied, hands-free communication headsets, so that the visual observer can communicate with the pilot. And don't forget that you can have more than one visual observer. Sometimes, we've used up to 3.
Yeah,
depending on the shoot, right?
Depends on the situation. If you have a lot of obstructions, or you have you're in an area with a lot of trees or whatever, you may want to station your visual observers in different areas.
Right, and in the flight restriction zone, which we fly to a lot, if you are within a certain distance from the DCA VOR, you have to have law enforcement with you, right? Mm-hmm. And not only do they require visual observer anywhere inside of the freeze, When we need law enforcement, we usually bring an extra visual observer because that's an extra layer of, say, insurance for us.
Protection, right?
Protection, right.
So again, with training, it can be very unofficial, very just off the cuff. But you should have some SOPs to train them, and it could be as quick as a day in the field just to go over stuff, or maybe a pre-flight, a couple hours beforehand, saying here's what we're looking for, right? Here's what we're looking for. This is a high traffic area, for instance, for helicopters, so please be on the lookout for that. And the visual observer is, people think, oh, I can do that. But we've worked with visual observers which just didn't work out. They need to communicate. They need to communicate clearly, and they need to let you know what to do very clearly.
Well, exactly.
If there's a helicopter coming around, they need to tell you that you need to descend. Descend. You're clear to descend. I'll start descending, but then my whole attitude is, well, how much can I descend?
Right. How far away are you from the trees and that sort of thing? But it's a little bit simpler or more complicated depending on how you look at than that. We are used to saying things like "be careful" or "whoa" or "watch out." In reality, those things don't mean anything. They don't have any kind of meaning. So I usually train the visual observers to give me commands. It's like, tell me what to do. Don't just say watch out. Watch out for what? Go left, go right, go up, go down, come back, whatever it is, give commands. Make sure that your VO, your visual observer, gives you a command, and you, as the pilot, obey.
And it's always good for the visual observer to, maybe it's obvious, maybe you're flying near an airport, but the traffic is, 747s or, jets, corporate jets or something that are at altitudes that don't matter to what you're flying. Right. That is irrelevant. If there is traffic, the visual observer needs to say something, say traffic at, 3 o'clock, high, no factor.
No factor. So traffic, no factor.
If I hear an airplane as a pilot in command, or if I hear something such as a truck on the highway, which sounds like a helicopter, which happens all the time.
All the time.
I want to know that it's not a factor. I want to know that I don't have to do anything, and I want to know that the visual observer knows that, because this person is in charge of making sure that I know that.
Exactly.
So it's very important that anything that you need to know, that the visual observer needs to communicate with you.
Right. So make sure you train your visual observer, and even though it can be an unofficial training, like Mike said before, absolutely, I would document it. I would absolutely document it, because it might save you later on in case of any kind of issue or a lawsuit or something. Just make sure you document that you trained this person. Yeah. An SOP is an important thing. We have one. It wasn't easy to write. It took a long time, but it was well worth it. So make sure you have an SOP, standard operating procedures.
Well, that's it for today's podcast. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. If you liked it, don't forget to hit like, hit subscribe, and see you next time. Thank you.